Hello, and welcome to episode 163 of Design Curious Podcast. I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. We are continuing our series from dreaming to designing, and today we are talking about more of the legal and financial side of starting a business. And let me ask you, does the business side of design totally intimidate you? Well, today we're breaking down all of those things that go into it, the non-negotiable legal and money must-haves that turn your creative passion into a real business. And that's what you're here for, right? Like I said, this is leading up to boot camp, and these are some of the topics we are definitely going to walk you through with holding your hand in boot camp. So if this is just the tip of the iceberg for you, then I would love to see you sign up for that so we can get started in January and get your business off the ground this spring. So let's get into the episode. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. So when I decided to make my business legitimate, that first friend who came to me and wanted me to furnish her living room, dining room space, because I had some experience working for other designers who had bought furniture wholesale, I knew that was the route I wanted to go. But I thought, well, I want to set up shop. I want to actually have a legal business. This was 2007, early days on the internet, and there wasn't really any social media. I think Facebook had just started. And my friend was like, oh, do you have a Facebook profile yet? I don't even know if we used it for businesses back then, but I'm like, no, I don't. I guess I should get on there. So anyway, though, I went about researching how to make my business legal in my area. So I knew I needed a business license to be recognized as a government entity and to pay taxes. And so I had to get my EIN. And I figured I'd probably have to get some sort of resale license. I knew that that was needed because when I purchased furniture for my other employers, often the vendor would ask for that resale permit number. I found out how to get that. And then I figured there's probably some local business ordinance. And I was in a county as opposed to a city. And so I needed that county business license. So I set all of those up, but then I also knew that I needed to do several other steps. And I didn't have one person telling me, this is what you should do. I was, like I've said other places, that I bootstrapped my business startup. I did not go to the small business administration place and ask them how to do it. I kind of just thought, I'm going to figure it out. I can do it. Hindsight, it would have been much quicker, and probably I would have been more thorough had I gone to someone, a resource like that. But I felt like that was intimidating, and it was more comfortable for me to try and just figure it out. I don't know if that's something that maybe you're thinking about. You're like, I'd rather not talk to someone else yet about starting my business. I want to figure it out and not actually commit yet. And maybe that was part of the problem. I'm not really sure why I didn't seek outside help when I was starting out, but I did know at least that I would probably need a CPA for filing taxes because I went from getting a W-2 every year to actually running a business. And I knew, because my dad had his own practice as an optician, that you need to have separate business accounts and bank accounts and things like that. So I kind of started notating and keeping everything in a binder as I was going along, how to set it up. And I didn't think it was intimidating, but I know a lot of people do find it intimidating. So that's kind of where we're going to break down some of the steps today. I know that if you do find it intimidating and you're not quite like me, where I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. Here we go. that's why we have the boot camp. And so in week 3 of boot camp, I'm giving you templates and also vendor resources on how to purchase, where to purchase after you set up your resale permit, a lot of checklists and everything to help get over this overwhelm of starting the technical and very legal side of starting your business. But I'm going to cover it a little bit here today for those of you who might think that you want to do it on your own. So why does setting it up legally matter? Well, because a lot of things can go wrong. And if you aren't set up properly, then there could be consequences in your personal life. People start businesses every day. Most businesses don't make it past the first couple of years. And so we want you to be successful in your life and to start out right and not delay any progress and profits that could come to you quickly so that you can have a successful career. We want you to be protected legally. We just had that episode with Jonathan, and he talked about setting up your entity. We're going to touch on that a little bit later, but that was a great segue into this episode. Having an official setup as a business helps clients to trust you and trust your credibility. I've talked to people before, they're like, I'm just going to hire a student, and so that way they're cheaper. Well, even though the student might not charge you very much, they have very little experience and very little responsibility to you to make sure it's done right. When a business is coming to do your design, you're able to follow up. You can report to the Better Business Bureau if there was fraud or anything like that. So you have, as a client, a lot more assurity that the designer is going to fulfill their promise to you, especially when you're handing over lots of money. So as a designer, when you set up your business correctly, saves you time and money for later when you do run into problems, because they happen. And also the biggest shift, I think, is for your mindset as becoming a real CEO of a business takes it from a hobby or a side job, and it makes it your priority and becomes part of who you are. So that was a lot of the reasons why I wanted to set up my business legitimately when my friend came to me. And of course, I could have just, sourced some retail things and charged her a couple hours here and there. But I knew that that was the path I wanted to go, was to start a business and to own a business so that I could have flexibility later on when I had a family or whatever was going on in life. And I knew it just excited me to have a business and to put my logo out there and to create branding content. And that was just an exciting part of it. So let's get into the legal foundation of what you kind of need, some approachable steps of what you can go through to set up your business. So like I said, you want to get your EIN. This is your employer identification number. This tells the government that you are a business, that you will be paying taxes, that you're legitimate. A lot of places, we talked about buying wholesale, will ask for your EIN just to verify that you're a legitimate business so you can buy wholesale. You need it for other documents if you're going to get a loan. Any business related to regular interactions with other companies, business to consumer, you need this EIN because it's the personal identity. It is like the social security number of your business. And in fact, when you are filling in forms, you fill in this EIN instead of your social security number, which keeps your social security number more private, a little bit more separated, because now your business is an entity unto itself and separate from you. So it's a free number. You just go to irs.gov in America and you get your EIN number. They'll send it to you pretty quickly. If that even thought of just going there and filling out that form is daunting to you, then we do that in Bootcamp as well. I did have a student purchase the business starter kit, which I do have in my design mentor platform for the DIY starter kit. And she had to keep asking me questions on these forms filling out because they can get complicated when you're filling out a form and understanding all the questions they're asking, what you can ignore, what you actually need to fill in. So we walked through that together in Bootcamp. Then we choose a business structure. So like Jonathan was talking about, LLC or S-Corp, Or if you're starting out as a sole proprietor, it kind of depends on how much money you're making and if you want to be separated from your business legally. So I would definitely recommend reaching out to Jonathan and talking to him about what your needs are in your first couple years. You'll also probably be able to get some recommendations from your CPA, who, if you don't have one yet, we can help you find one in your area because that's going to be critical for running a business. Most designers will start as an LLC or sole proprietor because it separates them personally from their business. And it's only typically for like California, especially when you reach a certain income level, that you're going to incorporate as an S-Corp just for the financial part of it. So those technical details we can get into in bootcamp, but also Jonathan's going to be a much better resource to directly answer your questions. So then you're going to get the necessary licenses and permits, like we talked about. Your local state, city also is going to want to tax you for doing business in the area based on your revenue. So starting out, you're not going to have very much revenue. You might not have to pay much at all. If anything, every city and county is going to be a little bit different. So we want to make sure you're looking at all the requirements for your area. And that should be something you can find fairly easily online. The other types of things you want to consider is for taxes that you will need to be paying a sales tax on any wholesale purchases. So that's where your resale permit comes in. Initially in that first year, likely you'll just have to pay your sales tax annually. But once you reach a certain volume of sales, you will probably have to start paying your sales tax quarterly. And that's where a bookkeeper can come in and help you with all of those things and making sure those taxes are getting paid properly. The other thing you definitely want to have starting out, and is something I totally skipped over, did not even think about until a year or two, probably 2 years into my business, was business insurance, your general liability insurance. I did not even think about that. This is going to cover you just for general business practices in case something comes up. Your professional liability, you make a mistake, someone decides to make a claim against you, then your business insurance will cover any damage or loss that might happen in a worst case scenario. Generally, they recommend having $1 million in coverage, but it might be more depending on your volume. Your exposure is what they call it in the insurance. So general liability, and then professional liability as well. That's like omissions and errors. Like if you're designing something that then fails or causes harm to somebody, they could come after your professional license. It definitely comes in with architects, designers, since it's not as regulated. It won't come after your license, but it will definitely come after you financially. So this will help protect you just to have that coverage. Insurance seems like it's maybe a waste of money, but it's a part of overhead. It's a part of business expenses. It's very much expected. And honestly, it's not that much when you're starting out because your exposure is very little. So you're just going to be paying a couple hundred maybe a month or less just to get that off the ground. And then as your business grows, you'll be able to increase your coverage and have umbrella policies and everything as well. But then you're able to afford that having more overhead. Thankfully, I haven't had to use insurance claims in the past 19 years I've been in business, knock on wood. But it's definitely a relief to have that, and it helps to ease your mind just to make sure that you are covered. And also, I've had clients ask for my liability insurance as a certificate, proof of insurance, just to make sure, which is good. They should ask that of myself and of the contractors. I should ask that of the contractors, make sure they have insurance, anyone that you're working with, just to make sure that they're insured so that your insurance would not have to cover their mistake if that happens. And so then having a contract, that would be the other very obvious thing, but often overlooked and often neglected part of running a design business is to have written agreements between you and your client, even for small projects. Now, I don't do contracts for consultations. Those are considered standalone, fixed fee design consults. And I don't require a contract just for the consult, but following the consult, we do get into contract with the client for all of the design work that will be done following that. And so it will cover scope. It'll cover how you collect payment, how often you will bill your client, whether it's every 2 weeks, every month, every quarter, or if you take draws throughout the project. It'll usually give a timeline, kind of your systems, and then cancellation of the project and like terms about that. Basically, you should have the rule that if they won't sign the contract, you will not work with them. Your contract is your backbone. It's going to give you so much confidence as well as a surety that things will be ideal for both you and the client. And we get into contract a lot in bootcamp. So I also have connections with a contract attorney who will help you set up your contract template for the first time and make sure you have all the right things in there. I had her do an audit of my contract as well. She added a few clauses that were necessary that I was even missing. So it's great to have that partnership, and we will connect you through bootcamp for that. So those are the first 5 things for your legal foundation. So get your EIN, choose your business structure, get the necessary license or permits, and then you want to get your insurances and your contract. So that's going to really set the foundation of your business. Those are all things you cannot skip. Do not skip that part. The next part, though, what you want to do, which is also cannot be skipped, is the business banking and financial setup. I knew early on that I needed to have a separate bank account. I was actually excited to start a business bank account. When I was little, I would play store with my sisters, and we would actually play mall. We each had multiple stores that we could shop at each other's stores, and because we were all part of a mall. And so I loved having a fake credit card machine and having like business entity, when I was 8 or something, 6, so I guess I always had entrepreneur blood, but I was very excited to set up a business bank account, something I could write checks out of that said my business name on it. But more than that, it helps keep everything so clean. You definitely want to always have separate finances personally from your business. It will help for taxes to stay clean, for projects to stay clean. It looks professional, and it makes bookkeeping 10 times easier. So get your business bank account. Of course, you need all those other things first in order to get your bank account, because you need the EIN, what kind of entity you are, in order to set that up. But then once you have your bank account, you also need a payment system. So I used QuickBooks early on and lasted for a long time. I would say the first year or 2, I might have just done spreadsheets though, and creating invoices in just like a Word document or something like that, because I had so few projects going on. So I really didn't need a full system quite yet, because when I first started the first couple of years, I was actually doing it part-time while working for other people. And so it was like a side gig. I did not have quite the volume needed to have a full accounting system. But then once I switched over to working in my business full-time, I joined some networking groups. I met a bookkeeper who's like, I will set you up in QuickBooks, and this will help for taxes to go so much smoother, because there's different categories you have to set up in QuickBooks. It's this very overwhelming system if you're not an accountant. I mean, it's easy to use once it's set up, and they kind of show you how to do it. You can maintain your books day to day, and then have your bookkeeper come in to reconcile everything and help with tax preparation. But I definitely would recommend QuickBooks Online or some similar program. There are others out there like that to keep track of your finances. And then it can also create for you reports, which is something that I couldn't really do probably through spreadsheets. So at least I didn't know how to do that. And so I recommend starting there. And then you can move into something that's more robust like Studio Designer. which is ideal, or Design Manager, which is made for designers, and it helps with the purchasing product part as well, and with accrual accounts. And if that terminology scares you, don't worry about it. We'll touch on it in Bootcamp. It's not even anything that you really have to fully understand at this point, just starting out. Your bookkeeper will know, and we'll make recommendations to you on how to set up your accounts and how to talk to your bookkeeper if they're not familiar with the interior design industry, so that you can get it set up properly and have the most ease of filing your taxes. This will also track your income, your overhead. So you're going to have overhead, like we said, with business insurance, paying your annual tax and license fees. And then if you have subscriptions for like QuickBooks Online, all those things go into your overhead, and you want to track them. And so having a system will help to track that. And you will also need systems for tracking clients, product, and things like that. So it's great to have systems in place for that. And then hire the help that you need. So you need CPA, like I mentioned, you need a bookkeeper. It wouldn't hurt early on to get a fractional CFO to kind of advise you on how to grow your business. Like if you want to obviously make it a full-time job and career, then your fractional CFO will help to analyze the data that's coming out of your QuickBooks reports and analyze your profit and loss statement, your tax returns, and tell you like, okay, this is where you can, maybe you should charge more here, or make better margins over here, or take on these types of projects to help you make this amount of income to push your business to the next level. So fractional CFO is great for that kind of top line reflection on your financial goals for the business. And you definitely don't need to do it all yourself. I was definitely intimidated by all of the prospect of tracking my finances. And I liked having that spreadsheet, but I always felt like I was missing something. And then when it came to taxes, at least the first year, it was so simple. My CPA could just do it. But as I got more clients and things got more complicated, I was purchasing a lot more. It just really made sense to have a bookkeeper. And that should really be your first hire. Most of the time, creatives are not great at doing the business and financial parts. That's why this episode. And that's the way I have the bootcamp, because it can be intimidating. And so bootcamp, I'm going to be holding your hand through all of this and help you step by step. The last part I want to touch on is that once you have set up all these things, you have your bank account, you've got your business license, your mindset shifts. It's not just a side hustle. It's not just a hobby. It's not something that you're trying out. You actually have a legitimate business in your state. You are a small business owner, and maybe even a corporation. You view your business differently, and you want it to be profitable. It's not just about you anymore. It's about this entity of your business, and that needs to be profitable. That needs to have a great reputation, and that is what's serving your clients. And so having that reframe from fear of all the legal and financial parts and overcoming that will empower you to just have a career that you really enjoy. It's the backbone of building your dream career. So it's not just red tape. It's something that has to be faced and dealt with. Every business owner has to go through this, not just interior design. And so I think this is an important topic to talk about. So don't skip over it. And Launch Your Business Bootcamp is here for you. And we go over this week 3 and getting you official, registered, insured, set up legally. We have checklists, all the things that you're going to need. So I hope that if you are struggling with this or excited about the prospect of it, then you will sign up for Bootcamp. So if you are interested in this topic, you want a sneak peek into what I wish I'd known starting out, I have a free guide download for you, the 3 things I wish I had known when I started my career. So you can find that in the show notes. And I have a playlist for you on Spotify, and it's for new designers. So you can go to Spotify. We've curated all the podcast episodes into 3 different playlists, so you can really get some focused information on what you need starting out as a new designer. And it's the perfect companion as you step into business ownership. So today we covered a lot of detail, the key steps to setting up your business legally, financially. So go back and listen if you are a little bit overwhelmed, or just sign up for the bootcamp. Link is in the show notes. I'd love to have you in there. Next week, we're going to have another great episode. And until then, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.